As we await the next jobs report in this country, we've got some fresh survey results on a cool down in confidence in Canada. That's according to work done by Nanos Research. Nik Nanos is the firm's founder and its chief data scientist, and he joins us now. Nik, always good to see you. Thanks for joining us. Let's just talk a little bit about the health of the Canadian consumer as you've measured it. What can you tell us?
Well, not great right now, John. You know, it's interesting. We look at the long-term trend line. We started measuring back in 2008 consumer confidence. And, this is a diffusion index, a score out of 100. Anything below 50 is negative. Anything above 50 is positive. But, if you look at that long-term trend line, there's only 2 occasions since 2008 where that trend line has consistently been below 50. It was back in 2008 and then at the beginning of the pandemic in 2020. And when we crunch the numbers against future performance or future GDP, there's a pretty high correlation, which means we're going to have a very soft fall when it comes to those GDP numbers if this trend holds up. So right now, sentiment is net negative, especially in provinces like Ontario and British Columbia.
Well, you made that reference to GDP, and Canada had a better first half than the U.S., but, when you get 2 consecutive quarters of contraction, that's sort of the technical definition of a recession. So they were talking an awful lot about that in the U.S. over the last week or so. And of course, everybody's talking about the inflationary effects from higher gas prices and the grocery store realities right now. Is it a combination of all of those concerns that start to trickle into the story of how confident people feel?
No, absolutely. It's all those things in terms of the rising cost of living. And, we always say that if the United States sneezes, Canada gets a cold. So it's not good news when the United States economy starts to slow. One thing that is different in Canada compared to consumer confidence and the mood compared to a lot of other comparable economies is real estate. Yeah. Real estate in Canada has been very frothy and hot over the last number of years. It's really been an outlier in terms of positive perceptions related to the future value of real estate. But when we look and we ask Canadians right now whether they think that the value of real estate will go down or up, I think about 29% of Canadians believe that the value of real estate will increase. That's down about 5 points in the last 4 weeks. And about 34% say that it's going to decrease. That might not look like a big number, but the reality is earlier this year, the proportion of Canadians that thought the value of real estate was going to increase was actually in the 50s, and now it's in the 20s. It speaks to how this market has turned just on the increase in interest rates and mortgage rates and the rising cost of living. And that's really something different in Canada compared to a lot of other countries.
Well, to your point, when it comes to interest rates rising both in Canada and the U.S., a lot of people have made the argument that the impact is much faster here in this country, in part because of that deep reliance on debt. I guess against that backdrop, it's going to be really important to watch what the Bank of Canada does, how aggressive they end up being as we roll through the rest of the year. Obviously, everyone's watching what the U.S. Federal Reserve does, but our central bank has been quite active, and to your point, that is causing some chaos in the housing market now.
Yeah, I think for those that are hopeful or optimistic, the one possible scenario that's a little more positive is that if there is a downturn, or when the downturn does occur, it's short and shallow because of intervention from the Bank of Canada on the interest rate front. I think that's probably the best case scenario. So right now, I think we're looking at a downturn. The big question is how deep and how long. And if you're a half glass full type person, you're probably hoping that it's shallow and short. And if not, you're probably buckling up for what could be a very rough 6 months.
Nik, before I let you go, obviously you track the mood on Main Street as it pertains back to Ottawa as well. Certainly this year, the economy is in focus for U.S. lawmakers as we approach those midterm elections. How does this all translate into voter sentiment in this country?
Well, right now what we do know is that Canadians are quite grumpy. A significant proportion think that we're moving in the wrong direction when it comes to creating prosperity, and even the Liberal numbers are flat, basically marginal Conservative advantage. And you know what? This downturn in the economy isn't good for incumbent governments, not just in Canada, but also in the United States. So expect an even rougher ride for the Democrats in these midterm elections come the fall.